The sky was blindingly blue that afternoon. The kind of blue that made Amos's eyes ache if he stared too long. He'd been sent to the field to gather the cows, but they weren't listening today. They scattered in the far pasture, tails swishing, oblivious to his calls. Frustrated, he stomped through the tall grass, the stalks brushing against his sunburned cheeks. And then he saw it. At first he thought it was a trick of the light, the way the sun bent heat into waves on the horizon. But no, it was closer, right there, just a few feet ahead. A figure, barely taller than him, standing perfectly still among the swaying grass. Its skin shimmered like water under moonlight, a deep, liquid blue that didn't belong in his world. Its eyes were what froze him, two orbs of glowing red, like embers pulled from a fire. They didn't blink. They didn't flinch. They only watched. Amos's throat tightened. He wanted to run, to scream, to do something, but his legs wouldn't listen. Who are you? He croaked. His voice sounded small, swallowed by the vastness of the field. The thing tilted its head, its movements unnervingly smooth. It took a step forward, and Amos stumbled back, his heel catching on a root. But the creature stopped, its long arms hanging loose at its sides. It didn't reach for him. It didn't attack. It only stood there. Amos swallowed hard, forcing himself to his feet. Are you... He faltered, unsure how to finish the question. Are you dangerous? Are you real? The creature didn't answer. Instead, something strange happened. The air around it seemed to hum, a sound so low and deep Amos felt it more than heard it. And then it happened. A flood of something other poured into his mind. Not words, but images, feelings. He saw a planet, vast and beautiful, its skies the same shimmering blue as the creature's skin. He saw spires that reached into the heavens, glowing softly like distant stars. And then he saw them fall, crumbling, burning, consumed by a darkness that devoured everything. He felt the weight of it, the crushing grief of losing everything, of wandering alone through endless silence. The creature's gaze didn't waver, but Amos thought he understood. You're lost, he whispered. The hum shifted, softer now, almost gentle. The creature stepped closer, its movements cautious, careful not to startle him. It held out a hand, long and delicate, its fingers trembling slightly. Amos stared at it. His heart pounded, but not with fear anymore. He didn't know why, but he felt its loneliness, its longing, like an ache in his own chest. Slowly he reached out, his small, sunburned hand trembling as it brushed against the creature's. Its skin was cool, smooth, and impossibly light, like touching a breeze. The moment they connected, the flood came again. This time warmer, softer. Amos saw himself standing small and scared in the grass, but through the creature's eyes, he wasn't small at all. He was bright, like a candle in a dark room. The feeling filled him up, spilling over in tears that streaked down his dusty cheeks. He didn't know why he was crying, but he couldn't stop. It's okay, he whispered, though he wasn't sure if he was saying it to the creature or himself. You're not alone. Not right now. The hum deepened, vibrating in his bones. The creature's red eyes dimmed, softening, and for the first time, Amos thought it looked peaceful. It released his hand and straightened, its gaze lingering on him for a moment longer. Then it turned, walking slowly into the tall grass. Amos wanted to call after it, to ask it to stay, but the words wouldn't come. He could only watch as the shimmering blue figure melted into the sunlight. leaving nothing behind but the faint hum that lingered in the air. Amos stood there for a long time, the tears drying on his cheeks. The cows wandered back, lowing softly, but he didn't move. Something in him had changed, though he didn't have the words to name it. That night when the stars came out, Amos climbed onto the barn roof and lay there, staring up at the endless expanse of sky. It didn't feel as empty as it used to. Somewhere out there, he knew, the creature was still wandering. But now, maybe, it carried a piece of him the same way he carried a piece of it. And that thought made the vastness of the universe feel just a little smaller.